Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Nerf Elite 2.0 Stormcharge. This blaster came out this year in 2023 as part of the Nerf Elite 2.0 Wild Edition line. So with that out of the way, let's get started by talking about the box. So starting off with the front of the box, we have this very open packaging where we can get a preview of the Stormcharge, as well as some information about the blaster. So this blaster is motorized and includes a removable stock and barrel. It also includes 20 Nerf Elite darts, requires 4 AA's, and is ages 8+. Also, plastic-free packaging. On the back of the box, we have a more detailed look at the Stormcharge. Starting off with a look at its stock. It's a removable stock. Very simple design. Its removable barrel, also a pretty simple design. This blaster comes with a 10-round clip, or magazine. This is a look at its controls, rev trigger and main trigger. And it also advertises this blaster as a 4-in-1 blaster. Weirdly enough, they don't have the instructions on the bottom of this box, which is strange, considering Nerf lately has been putting them on the bottom of the box. So maybe there's actual instructions in here. Only one way to find out. Let's get this thing out of the box. Alright, so here we have the Stormcharge out of the box, and weirdly enough, we actually have instructions. Very simple single sheet instructions. Tells you how to load the batteries, use the blaster, tells you where the jam door is to clear jams. Also, these are our darts. These are the Wild Edition darts, which is kind of this bluish green, or maybe it's a greenish blue, I don't know. Body with a dark blue tip. And now we move on to the Stormcharge itself. So this is a very simple flywheel blaster. You have our rev trigger here and our main trigger. Push darts in. We also have mag release right here. Pretty convenient spot, I'd say. Push it with your middle finger or use your thumb. Pretty nice here. Jam door. Push that down to clear jams. Pretty open, I'd say. We have this carry handle here. At least I'm assuming that's a carry handle. Seems to balance pretty well there. I mean, unless it's just a aesthetic decision to put that there. I don't know. It's a carry handle. That's what I'm gonna call it. Now on the top of the carry handle, we have this rail here. We have this other rail on the side. I'm not too sure what this is for. Maybe a light, or I guess a grip or something. I don't know. Attachments. Let's remove the barrel real quick. It's a very short, simple twist-on barrel. And then here's our stock. This stock is actually a lot more solid than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more of a rubbery plastic, but it's actually a hard plastic. It's kind of a very simple stock, a simple straight stock, which could work on certain blasters better than others. Okay, that's weird. I'm pretty sure this is from another blaster because there's holes for 2 other screws. I guess they decided to not include 2 different screws. 2 more screws. The magazine. This magazine feels a little bit squishy. Not sure what to say about that. See, like kind of flexing out here. There's another 10-round magazine from another Elite 2.0 blaster. It's not that squishy, and this one just feels really feels like almost like rubber. That is something to keep in mind. The magazine feels a little cheap, for lack of a better term, or low cost. There we go, a little more low cost than other magazines that they've come out with. Weird. That's enough talking about the accessories. Let's actually load this thing up with batteries. So we have our battery tray right here, a battery compartment right here. Has a simple single Phillips head screw here. Comes right off. And then we can load our 4 AA's like so. You just put the cover back on like this. Alright, so the Stormcharge is loaded with batteries. It is a little more heavy, obviously, because batteries are heavy. It does appear to have some form of magazine lock, I guess. Hopefully that's what it is for the rev trigger. So yeah, only rev with the magazine in. Trigger only moves when the rev trigger's pulled. Makes sense. There's no jam door lock. And weirdly enough, I think I either overrode the lock. Oh, there it goes. It re-engaged. Okay, that's a little strange. This thing's already kind of acting funny. I'm gonna load up a couple darts. Just make sure it works. I don't want another incident like the Moto Blitz. All right, seems to work pretty well. Yeah. Before we move out onto the range though, we need to test its compatibility with things. So here I have a variety of accessories. Let's start off by installing a stock. Stock fits on really nice. It's a retaliator stock. Next we have a barrel. This is an Eagle Point barrel. Fits on there pretty nicely. Here we have a foregrip also from the retaliator. I don't know, just put it on the side. And then here we have a scope. This is from a Super Soaker, a really old Super Soaker. Fits on there like so. There you go. Yeah, if you need to really steady your shots, you can grip right here and just, you know, fire like that. Oh yes, magazines. So let's start off with that 10 round magazine. This is from an Echo. Blaster turns on. It should work with the 18 round magazines. Or not. Nerf. It doesn't engage the lock. Nerf. Okay. Fair warning with the Stormcharge. I don't know if they've updated the 18 round magazines because I don't have anything from an Elite 2.0 blaster. But at least on this is an older magazine. The little lump here prevents it from engaging the lock. So your Stormcharge cannot use 18 round magazines, at least the old ones. I'm not sure if they've released new ones. Let's see if it'll fit a 25 round drum. Okay, fits the 25 round drum pretty easily, which is nice. 12 round dart zone. Will not fit 12 round dart zone. The tabs prevent it from engaging. 12 dart Adventure Force Pro. Same basic deal. I don't think this will fare any better. This is a Dart Zone Pro magazine. 15 round, doesn't fit. Just for fun, I'm gonna see if they'll fit the magazine adapter, which it does not. Okay, let's see if it'll fit the Busby magazine. It fits the Busby magazine. That's so weird. It's like, this magazine, by the way, the Busby magazine. The Busby magazine is probably the least compatible with Nerf blasters, at least for all the blasters I own. It doesn't seem to work with anything, but it works with the Stormcharge. But the Stormcharge can't even use Nerf's own magazines. Weird. Not much else to say, except let's take this thing out on the range and see how it fares. Alright, so here we are out down on the range, and please pardon the noise. My neighbor is doing work on their house. Anyway, we have our targets set up over there. We have the Stormcharge. We're going to be starting off with Nerf Elite. We're going to be doing 10 rounds each for every dart. And for those who are wondering, this is your sight picture. Yes, it goes right through the carry handle. But I will say one thing. With the default stock, I personally cannot look down the sight. However, with the Retaliator stock, which by the way, this stock, A lot of people complain about being like small and cramped, but on these kind of blasters, this is where it shines, because I can get a perfect view of the sight with this stock, because it's not a straight stock like the default one, right? It goes down. I can put my cheek here. I can see right down the sight very easily. But of course, for sake of review, we are just going to be using this stock because it's the proper way to review it, reviewing it as is. Let's see if we can hit anything. Oh, hit something, hit two things. It's a little breezy today, so I had to tape down my target. So if they don't fall, that's why. Oh, hit it. Hit, and we're out. It's accuracy by volume, as we saw a little bit, hitting targets here and there. Nerf, of course, going all over the place because that's kind of how Nerf is with flywheels and springers. So anyway, let's move on to the next start. On to Adventure Force. Hit it. Oh, hit that. While I wasn't hitting many targets, I mean, I hit a couple targets, they were flying straighter, and if you can get this thing zeroed in, I think you could be pretty accurate with Adventure Force. Surprised it didn't jam. Adventure Force sometimes jams in these flywheel blasters because of how they're designed. Let's move on to the next dart. Last dart, Dart Zone. Oh, got that. Hit that. If I didn't try to hit that target over there with most of those shots, I think I could have probably hit more things. I will say, this is a pretty accurate blaster. There's some redemption here. Oh yeah, for those who are wondering why I'm not doing with barrel and without barrel tests, from off-camera testing, this doesn't really affect it too much. If anything, it actually makes it fly a little straighter. Yeah, this barrel attachment doesn't really do much. Anyway, speaking of range, let's move on to the range test. All right, so here we are at the range test. For context, the chicken marks 25 feet, the swan marks 35 feet, the frog marks 40 feet, and the far back wall marks 50 feet from where I'm standing. We're gonna be starting off with Nerf Elite. We'll be doing 10 rounds each. Next, we have Adventure Force. And lastly, Dart Zone. All right, let me go check the ranges and we'll be right back. All right, let's talk about the ranges real quick. So with Nerf, the darts are going all over the place. And a majority of them are going straight down right in front of the chicken, so about 25 feet. Some of them are going a little bit further to around the 30-foot mark. So I'm just gonna say 25 to 30 for Nerf. For Adventure Force, majority of those rounds were consistently landing right around there, right in front of the swan, somewhere at the swan. So I'm just gonna say roughly 30 to 35 feet. For Adventure Force, they were landing a little bit before that, so around the 30-foot mark. So I'll say Adventure Force, roughly the 30-foot mark. All right, so with that all the way, let's move on to the speed test. All right, so here we are at the speed test. We're gonna be starting off with Nerf Elite. We're gonna be firing 10 shots each. All right, now moving on to Adventure Force. All right, last dart, Dart Zone. Wow, double duplicate. All right, let's check out the speeds. Starting off with Nerf, we have an average of 67.2 with a minimum of 65 and a maximum of 72. Adventure Force, we had an average of 69.9, a minimum of 66 and a maximum of 74. And for Dart Zone, we had an average of 69.7, a minimum of 66 and a maximum of 73. So with that all the way, let's move on to my final thoughts. All right, so what are my final thoughts on the Nerf Elite 2.0 Stormcharge? But before we do that, as usual, we need to go over where I bought it, how much I spent. I purchased this blaster at Walmart for $29.97 USD. Not much to say other than I want to say this is a Walmart exclusive because I haven't seen this one at Target. Also, the other Wild Edition blasters, like the Trailblazer, haven't seen at Target either. So, not too sure. So with pricing out of the way, let's move on to my points. Starting off with aesthetics. So right out of the box, with its default attachments, I think the Stormcharge looks pretty cool. Kind of has this sci-fi battle rifle look to it. Kind of like how they incorporated the sights into the carry handle. Similar to the Rapid Strike, actually, somewhat old blaster, and that also had the sights incorporated into its carry handle, which, yes, looking up online, this is in fact a carry handle. I personally think it looks good with other attachments. I do like how it looks with the Retaliator stock. And speaking of the stock, I think the stock is probably the weakest, aesthetically, weakest component of this blaster. It's a very simple stock, not a lot going on. And the barrel's pretty cool looking as well. As I've tested off camera, this doesn't cause much performance decreasing as other barrels that are a lot longer. Also, I like how they have this tiger stripe texturing on it. I think it looks pretty cool. Some aesthetic problems, at least with mine, the holes on this side are kind of, they weren't really cleaned up before they assembled it. Weirdly enough, the other side looks perfectly fine. I also think the colors are pretty nice. It may not look like it on camera, but this is almost a red. It's kind of like a really red orange. On camera it looks orange, but it's closer to red. Overall, the Stormcharge looks pretty good. Next point, ergonomics. So the grip is pretty comfortable, and the place where they have, where they I guess they expect you to hold it, it balances quite well with its default stock and barrel. Carry handle, it's all right. It's a little cramped, but. So moving on to the controls, the rev trigger kind of feels a little squishy. Feels like it'll get stuck on or something. But the main trigger is pretty nice. I do like the main trigger. Magazine release is in a pretty good position. You can use your thumb to remove it, or use one of your fingers on your grip, on the grip to remove it. Stock is pretty comfortable, even with these kind of ridges on it. However, with the default stock, at least for an adult, it's kind of hard, if not impossible, to look down the sight. So overall, the Stormcharge is actually a pretty comfortable blaster. Next point is build quality. The only complaints I really have about the blaster itself are the magazine release. Kind of feels a little squishy. And the rev trigger also feels, I don't know, a little low cost. But other than that, blaster is quite solid. The barrel is quite solid as well. And the stock is surprisingly solid. Overall, the blaster has good build quality, but the magazine is another story. This thing is just like, it feels like it's made of like almost rubber. This thing is just not at all a good magazine. Like, look at that, the tabs are sticking out. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely docking points because of this kind of flimsy magazine. So as I stated before, the blaster itself is well built. Magazine, not too much. All right, the next part, compatibility. I guess we'll start off with what the blaster is compatible with. The blaster does seem to be pretty compatible with other barrels. The stock also seems to be pretty compatible. I really don't see a problem here. The rails, these rails are actually better than some blasters, where some blasters the thing just pops off or whatever, or doesn't even engage under the rails here. So these seem to be pretty nicely built. And of course, this blaster uses all sorts of darts relatively well. Haven't had any problems. But the one thing that I kind of just can't get over is the magazine well. I get it if, you know, your Dart Zone Pro magazine doesn't fit, because, you know, it's Dart Zone aftermarket magazine. But when you have a magazine made by Nerf, you know, a Nerf magazine that doesn't fit in the blaster, that's where we have problems. I want to say this is actually the second blaster on my channel, the second Nerf branded blaster that didn't work with Nerf magazines, the other one being the Nerf Minecraft Saberwing. But with that one, no magazine is compatible with it. But this one, you have the 18 rounder not working, which is kind of a downside. I mean, what are you gonna do? It's just, that definitely docks points in my opinion. Next point, reliability. I didn't have any jams. Yeah, no problems here. Very reliable blaster, very consistent blaster, and uses all darts pretty well. So the last point I want to make is value. What are you getting for $29.97 USD? Well, you do get 20 Nerf Elite darts, which is pretty cool. It's double your magazine capacity, so if you lose any, you can still have more. You get a barrel and stock, which is pretty cool. Have accessories, even though they're really simple. The blaster is motorized, semi-automatic, so that does bring the price up a little bit because of the electronics and stuff. Also, the blaster is very compatible with other darts, so if you don't want to spend a lot of money on Nerf darts, you can buy Adventure Force or Dart Zone. So with all the positives out of the way, probably might as well talk about the negatives. So some of the smaller negatives are like the mag release feeling a little squishy, rev trigger feeling squishy. Even this kind of flimsy feeling magazine, you know, this magazine does work, it gets the job done, but the biggest thing that kind of kills it for me, the fact that it won't take certain magazines. I'm not too bummed out that it can't take a Dart Zone magazine or an Adventure Force magazine. Like, those are aftermarket magazines, not that big of a deal. But when it can't use Nerf's own brand of magazine, that's when we have problems. Like, come on. It's a semi-automatic motorized blaster. Of course you want to have a higher capacity magazine in it. And the spectrum of magazines that Nerf provides is very limited. And the 18 rounder is the one right after 12, which I don't think they really do 12s anymore. And then right after 18 is 25. So, I mean, if you really want a middle ground, you can't use the middle ground. You're kind of stuck having to use smaller magazines or use the 25 round drum. Yes, this is definitely its biggest flaw. I mean, the Saberwing had the same problems, but at least with that one, it was a gimmicky blaster, more of a decoration, if anything. But this one is like kind of Nerf's motorized semi-auto magazine-fed blaster. You'd expect it to work with every magazine. So would I overall recommend the Stormcharge? If we're going purely off of price, I would say this is definitely one of those blasters, you know, that you should probably wait till it goes on sale. Definitely because of this flimsy magazine, you think that for $30 you'd get a better magazine, but you don't. Yeah, I just don't think it's worth the $30. So, but also something to note, if you're not bothered by the fact that it's not compatible with Nerf's 18 round magazines, then sure. But if you are, then I'd say definitely take a pass at this blaster. And I think I stated this before, but I don't know if Nerf's redesigned their 18 round magazines. I haven't seen them in stores lately. I want to say the turbine came with them, but I haven't seen the turbine in stores in a long time. At least in my stores I don't see them, so I don't know if they got rid of the lump here. Also, I understand you can either modify the magazine by cutting that off or modifying the blaster or something, but if you're an average buyer, I don't think that's really an option. If you're not bothered by the magazine compatibility, wait for it to go on sale. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and this will be the end of the review. Comment your thoughts about this blaster down below. Comment what else you want to see on the channel. Be sure to check out my review on the Nerf Elite 2.0 Moto Blitz, a blaster very similar to this. Be sure to check out my other reviews. I'll have both those linked at the end of the video. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.